Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Howard Thurman. I will light the Christmas candles. I will light candles this Christmas. Candles of joy despite all the sadness. Candles of hope where despair keeps watch. Candles of courage for fears ever present. Candles of peace for tempest-tossed days. Candles of grace to ease heavy burdens. Candles of love to inspire all my living. Candles that will burn all year.
Welcome indeed to the whole holy chaos that is the holiday season here at River Road. If you are new to this place or if you have danced through that holy chaos of the holidays together with us for generations, you're welcome here on this morning. This morning, I want to remind you of a few ways that we connect during the season, the ways that you can serve and be a part of our ever-growing, committed community. Firstly, that the holiday events begin to unspool right now. Our choir service will be next week on the 17th. Our solstice observance under that blanket of night on the evening of the 20th. Our pageant on the morning of the 24th. And as always, Christmas Eve candlelight services at 7 o'clock here in the sanctuary. There are a few more things I want to lift up. It is week 2 of our Electrify Everything campaign. You can join the Earth Ministry during coffee hour to learn a little bit more about how to electrify your life and maybe even your Christmas lights. You can stay after coffee hour today, and if there's one I got all the recommendations for this one. Stay after coffee hour today to hear about the Abriendo Brecha education project that our Latin LATN task force has been supporting for the last year. This work brings experiential education to families most in need and most capable of agency and creativity all throughout the work of Isabel Castillo, who's a longtime member and beloved River Roader. Her work is in Chiapas in Mexico. The school actually happens outside of her home, and you can learn all about the project and what an incredible difference even small donations make as we try to support the work of a couple more teachers and several more students. Also, Isabel made tamales, 3 different kinds, and dessert tamales, and it's all going to happen in the fellowship hall right after coffee hour. So just stick around. You will enjoy it. Our Middle East Task Force is beginning their work. Again, you can email Jennifer Noyen to find out more. There will be links in the e-weekly. And I want to let you know that there are assisted listening devices available now this week and every week. We have just tested them all, so they're ready to go. They're in the back right before you come in the sanctuary. Finally, we are deeply honored that in addition to the flowers made and designed by Khaki Power every week, this week's flowers are given in honor of Dr. Audrey Troth Alexander, Becky Troth's late sister. They are beautiful and a tribute to her profound influence on the world. After the service, we will have a new member book signing. If you feel that you're called to be among this merry band of revelers in this season, you can meet me right there after the service to be welcomed. What a blessing it is to be together. I believe we need youth choir.
Why are there so
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to this place of community, spirit, and service where we nourish our hearts and our spirits all throughout our lives and our full lifespan. This morning is a multi-generational service, a service where we gather of all ages here in this space together to explore what it means to live our values out loud, especially in this season of lights. A wise person once said that the rituals that we celebrate in this season of light serve an important function to pull us out of our thinking, judging, critical minds, and into an experience of honest wonder. They are a reminder that though we may try to banish awe and mystery, they will sneak up on us every time, and we might as well have a whole season where we try to pay attention. This morning, as we move through and explore this season of light, let us not move through it as though we are selecting our favorite items for purchase from the store, but rather as a time to connect with and intertwine each of our deepest and most direct experiences of that transcending mystery and wonder which is affirmed in all cultures and in so many traditions. And we know the context in which we are exploring these blessed lights, in a world in which it seems like the light has gone out. So, as seekers in the darkness, we search for hope as we reach for one another. And it's not just about the light itself, but about the reminder of what can be born within the darkness, and that the darkness itself has the capacity to hold mystery and wonder and hope and rebirth. These traditions we celebrate and the rituals that we observe each year in the season of light guides us as people living in real time on our journeys as we find a way to keep the light going, to keep it kindled within our hearts and spirits, even in these times of great suffering and sorrow for so many in our world. And so now we turn to the very earth itself and the ritual of many earth-based traditions by calling in the four directions. Calling in the four directions of north, south, east, and west allow us to create a container of sorts as we move through worship this morning. And this is one of my favorite rituals that we do at the beginning of the winter solstice service each year. The winter solstice marks the longest night of the year by thanking the darkness and calling forth the return of the sun, which is Earth's most powerful light. It is both a time of quiet contemplation and also of joy and delight. You may notice that somewhere around here, there's a basket of noisemakers right over there. And these baskets are filled with noisemakers that will help us call in the four directions. If you want to grab one of those, feel free to do so. If you're young and you want to make some noise, or if you're older and want to make some noise. But as we grab those, I invite you to rise as you're willing and able. Rise up as you're willing and able. And turn and face the east, which is back there in that corner. Now you might note that we have a merry band of candle lighters. They're going to light our candles for us in each direction as we turn. But as you are turned and facing the east, let's go ahead and call in those four directions.
Microphone might not be working.
Trey, tell us about the east.
And
As we look to the east, we welcome the cold, dry air that is winter in our part of the world.
Amen.
face the south. Please turn and face the south.
Microphone, yes.
Okay.
As we look to the south, we welcome the Yuletide fire, warming our homes in the cold winter months.
Shake your instruments and turn and face the west.
West. As we look to the west, we welcome the water in all of its frozen forms, and we welcome the hot forms that give us drinks to warm us on cold winter days.
And turn and face the north.
Keep roping, keep roping.
Please turn and face the north. That way.
The north. As we look to the north, we welcome the earth, its trees and plants that give us oxygen and sustenance.
And please turn and face the front. Come, let us worship together. You may now be seated.
Come back and row with me later. I would like to invite forward children, youth, and persons with limber knees comfortable sitting on the floor for a story. I've got props. You've got an egg. Well, that's good. Yeah, you can hold it. Here. All right. Make sure, yeah, you can sit behind me. Make sure you hold that tree so that people can see it. And let's turn it off so then we can dramatically light it. And everybody will go, ooh, ah. That's what we're supposed to do. So you all know what that is, probably, right? It's a Christmas tree. I have the most fun story to tell you all today. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I think it's really fun, which is about the very first time documented in all of history that a Christmas tree happened here in the United States. So, let me first tell you a hard part of the story, which is that when the Pilgrims, the Puritans, came here from Europe to these shores, Christmas celebrations were a big no-no. Like, not gonna happen. You know what? They had no decorations, no pictures, no art, no shiny lights, nothing. All that the Puritans said was okay to do at Christmas was to pray really quiet prayers and to sing hymns. Does that sound like a pretty exciting Christmas to you guys? No, not particularly. Also, you could in fact be fined and jailed for doing all these other things that people did in Europe, partly because the Puritans thought Christmas and the celebrations of it that were more than praying and singing hymns was really pagan, right? And they didn't want that to happen. Pagan means not Christian. And so, you fast forward a little while until the 1830s, and a fascinating, difficult, beautiful movement started to begin in the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society. Now, I know I just said Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society, and that does not sound like it has to do a whole lot with Christmas, does it? No. But what happened in the early 1830s was that a whole collection of people, including preachers and women who were working for their own right to vote, and African Americans who were working for their own freedom struggle, came together, particularly in Massachusetts, to organize around the rights and freedoms of people of color in this country. And nobody was signing up to give the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society any money to support all the things they were doing. So you know what they started doing? They held Christmas bazaars. You know, like our bazaar? And for the entirety of the 1830s, all of the funding and support for abolitionists, that means anti-slavery causes in New England, came from these big, glorious Christmas bazaars where people would sell decorations and cookies and all sorts of things. And the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society in 1835, they chose a great big fir tree, a green conical tree like you think of now, as their symbol. And they were inspired by one of their own, an active abolitionist against slavery who taught at Harvard and in fact got himself fired because he was so radical in his activism against slavery. His name was Charles Follen, and Charles Follen was, can you guess what kind of minister he was? He was a Unitarian, people. Like, now, would I be telling this story about an Episcopal? I don't know, maybe, but no. He was a Unitarian. Charles Follen was a Unitarian minister, and he did not care if the Puritans said you would get fined for celebrating Christmas in these wild, colorful ways. He did not even super care that he got fired from Harvard, even though, you know, Harvard is a pretty big deal, because he believed in living his values, and he also believed in bringing some joy and some beauty to the season. Charles Follen was from Germany. And in Germany, there had long been a tradition of lighting Christmas trees, often outdoors, as a part of the celebration of the season. And in 1832, Charles Follen had just had a son, and he wanted to celebrate the wonders of the season, and so he threw a big party where he invited all of his radical abolitionist friends to his house, and when they got there, the doors to the parlor were shut tight, and everybody was like, I wonder what creepy thing is going on behind those doors. And Charles Follen invited his friend Harriet Martineau, who was a famous author, to come with him to that party. And she wrote in a publication that was widely circulated all around New England about what it is she saw. For the first time, recorded in American history, this German Unitarian minister in Massachusetts hauled a tree indoors, set it in the middle of a wash tub, and lit it up for all to see. The tree was hung with little bitty dolls, gilded eggshells, and paper cups filled with candied fruit. It was illuminated with numerous actual open flame candles. Don't do that. And in the moment when Charles Follen opened the doors to the parlor of his house, all the children ran to the tree to get the candies and the fruits and the nuts that were in those little paper cups. Harriet Martineau wrote, "It really looked beautiful. The room seemed in a blaze, and the ornaments were so well hung that no accident happened except one doll's petticoat caught on fire. There was a sponge tied to the end of a stick to put out any surprise blaze, but no harm ensued. I mounted the steps behind the tree to see the effect of opening the doors. It was delightful. Light it up. And if it doesn't light, ooh, there you go. The children poured in, but in a moment every voice was hushed. Their faces were upturned to the blaze, all eyes open, all lips parted, all steps arrested. That means stopped. That means they stopped moving and they just looked. They just looked. And even today, Follin's congregation is a Unitarian Universalist congregation in Lexington, Massachusetts. Just like us, they celebrate his legacy, selling more than 900 Christmas trees off the front of their church lawn every year. And every single one of those trees is sold with a tag that reminds those who buy it of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society, the pastor who got fired from Harvard for preaching abolition, the Christmas markets that funded the fight for freedom, and the tree that stood then and now, not only as a beautiful declaration of the holiday season, but as a tall green symbol of liberty for all people, everywhere. Thank you for spending this time with me, and we're all going to stay in the sanctuary today, so you're going to head back to wherever it was you were seated before.
And now, I get some microphone. There we go. And now, we're going to sing a song that came out of the story that Nancy told. A few years later, maybe 10 years later, a man by the name of James Pierpont, who is also a Unitarian, wrote the song Jingle Bells to add to the celebration. So we're going to combine that with a tradition from my childhood. I grew up in a Presbyterian church, and on Christmas Eve, 4 o'clock, we would always go to a carol sing. That's all we did for an hour was sing carols. It was amazing and so much fun. But one of the highlights was when the minister got up to lead a hymn, and he got out his keys, because we knew it was time for Jingle Bells. So if you would like to get out some keys or maybe some of those noisemakers and rise as you are willing and able to sing Jingle Bells. We should get some words.
About the horse that had misfortune and getting upset when stuck in a snowdrift. You see, the thing about the holidays is that it calls us into this mashup of delight and of confusion, a time of wonder and sometimes a time of grief, a time of bright lights and a time of deep sorrow. The holidays invite us to move, sometimes at breakneck pace, between the joys and the sorrows, the laughter and the tears that such commemorations bring. And in this season, we know surely we are holding so much. A world that still cannot figure out how to keep itself for more than a few brief days out of war. A world in which we gather with our families sometimes over great distances and yearn mostly for those people who are not around the holiday table. We know that in this time of glad tidings, we hold also the complexity, the power, the possibility, and yes, on occasion, the grief that such times bring. In the presence of it all, our joy and our sorrow, our laughter and our tears, we make a space for one another this season.
As we celebrate lights, it's equally important to hold gratitude for the dark. Light and dark don't have to be at odds with one another, but can be sacred co-creators. So right now, I invite you into a time and a place of prayer and inner stillness and open-heartedness as we bless the dark and the light with a prayer written by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Sit deep in your seats, maybe planting your feet on the floor, closing your eyes or lowering your gaze, and breathing in around you the energy from the people. Blessed is the dark, in which our dreams stir and are revealed. Blessed is the dark of earth, where seeds come to life. Blessed are the depths of the ocean, where no light shimmers, the womb of all earthly life. Blessed is the light into which we awake, the light that sparkles on the waters, the light that calls the tree forth from the seed and calls the shadow forth from the tree. Blessed are we as we move through the darkness and through the light.
We give in so many ways here in our congregation and throughout the holiday season. Gifts of time, talent, treasure, of forbearance while the ones we love figure out whatever it is they need to learn in the midst of this busy time. We give from our hearts when we make space for each other. And in this time of our service, as the youth come to sing again, I want to invite you to give in many ways. There's a box in the back. The baskets will come around. You can give always online. You can text to give 73256 and the amount. Generosity is a spiritual practice for which we are always abundantly grateful.
Hanukkah is also known as the Festival of Lights. It is an 8-night celebration of a light that kept on shining even in the unlikeliest of seasons. The miracle of Hanukkah begins with a simple lamp and just enough oil to burn for one night. With wonder and awe, the ancient story says that lamp kept burning for 8 nights, even when all the oil was gone. This story serves as a reminder that joy can be kindled even when it seems like all the hope has been used up. Honoring this wonder and this story of hope and struggle, the Hanukkah menorah holds 9 candles, one for each 8 nights, and an additional candle, the shamash, or helper candle, which is used to light the others. This year, Hanukkah began on the night of Thursday the 7th. Since the candles are usually only lit in the evening, today we will light 3 for the 3 nights of celebration that have passed. Hanukkah honors a simple thing that sometimes feels so hard to find, a light that spreads and a hope that endures, at every table, for every family, in every place. As Reverend Nancy lights each of our 3 candles using the shamash, I'll read traditional blessings spoken over each candle on each night, blessings that call all people to renewed wonder and commitment. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings moments of holiness to our lives through the ritual of lighting the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings our attention to miracles from ages past to this very moment. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings moments of holiness to our lives through the ritual of lighting the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings our attention to miracles from ages past to this very moment. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings moments of holiness to our lives through the ritual of lighting the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings our attention to miracles from ages past to this very moment.
Founded in 1966 by African-American leader and scholar Maulana Karenga, Kwanzaa is an annual cultural celebration that runs from just after Christmas on December 26th through the New Year on January 1st. Each day is dedicated to a principle. Those principles are known collectively as Ngozo Saba, and they provide a basis for reinforcing the value of family, of community, and of culture. Each night of Kwanzaa, in addition to exchanging presents And sharing community, families who practice lift up one of those central values and remind each other of the enduring power of community, of struggle, and of shared courage that leans always toward greater self-determination and empowerment. As my colleague, Dr. Takia Nur Amin, has written, as a child each day, I look forward to receiving Kwanzaa gifts that my parents carefully chose as a way to honor those principal commitments we'd upheld as a family during that year. Those gifts were special because they served as an acknowledgement of our efforts to live as congruently as possible with this set of ideas that encouraged us always to grow toward righteous action, community building, and justice making. There is no heroic story of miracles in the Kwanzaa tradition. There are only values lived in the embrace of a proud and powerful tradition, living now in the people that surround us, in our lives, in the people's choices, the way those values are made to live in these our days. As we light the candles of the kinara, the traditional Kwanzaa candelabra, colored in black for the people, red for their struggle, and green for the future and the hope that comes from that struggle, I'll read the core values of that tradition, held not by one person alone, but by all the people who come together to live them out, not only during the season, but throughout the year in our lives together, in the easy times and the hard ones. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa, illuminating the season and especially our lives. Unity, so that none might seek or find their courage all alone. Self-determination, so that all might find and edify their own power and the power of all those with whom they share the journey. Collective work, that all might hold the responsibilities of community life, both moral and practical, together. Responsibility, in the knowledge that the work of liberation and the celebration of joy is ours to do and not to be put off for another day. Cooperation, especially in our economies, so that none will be left behind while others forge ahead. Purpose, guiding us always like a thread to hold on to in the twistings and the turnings of life's journey. Creativity, to be makers of a new world, designers of a new way of being. And faith, the ever-present faith that the path toward freedom and joy stretches out before the people, and that great things in the people's own hands are indeed possible. As the music plays, I want to invite each of you, as you're moved, to come to the table that we've set up right there in the side of the sanctuary. Around that table, we have arrayed some offerings that demonstrate the values of the Kinara, and we want to invite you also to look for the small cards printed with those same values: unity, self-determination, collective work, responsibility, cooperation, purpose, creativity, and faith. We want to invite you, as you are so moved, to come up to the table while the music plays to choose whatever card most moves you, naming perhaps for yourself what value you will hold close to your heart this holiday season. Let it be a small prayer offered up from this tradition that gives you great courage, that gives wisdom and clarity and purpose to you and to your life in the midst of this struggling world, in this enduringly beautiful holiday season. You may approach the table as you are moved while the music plays.
These cards are a promise, an opportunity, and a reminder. I chose Imani just to keep the faith, keeping the faith close in these times of despair and uncertainty, keeping the faith that places like this, communities like this where we grow together, where we share together, where we explore together, are the things that keep us going, even when things seem bleak or uncertain or unsure. So now it's time for us to close out our circle. So you might still have your noisemakers. I don't even know at this point who has a noisemaker and who doesn't. If you don't and you want one, get one. And as we turn to each direction, after we thank the direction and release it, you can share in your voice and say aho, which is pretty much like a heck yeah or a right on or something like a blessing and a releasing of each direction. As we turn and release these 4 directions, please rise and face the east. To the direction of the east, we thank you and hold gratitude for your elemental guidance, your direction, and your protection. Aho. Please turn and face the south. To the south, we thank you for your guidance and your protection and for your elements and what you do in our lives. We release you. Aho. Please turn and face the west. To the west, we thank you with gratitude for your directions, your guidance, and your element. Thank you and aho. And to the north, with gratitude for your direction and your guidance and what you bring to us and your protection, we say thank you and aho. And please turn to the center, to one another, the center. To that 5th element, that 5th direction, the Spirit. The Spirit we have called forth and celebrated together this morning. The Spirit that is woven into this tapestry of faith, community, and love. The Spirit of life that is at the center of all we do. And the Spirit that pulls us together all throughout this season of lights and the next and the next. May the Spirit of life and love dwell among us always and lead the way forward. And now I want to invite all of our youth choirs to come back up to lead us in our closing hymn, This Little Light of Mine. And go ahead and stay risen and keep those noisemakers as you feel willing and able.
This little light of mine.
run to get the cookies in the fellowship hall. We offer up our gratitude to everybody who made this service possible, including most of all of them. And I want to remind you one more time, stay after coffee hour, get those tamales and learn about the proud and power of change. Oh, I lost them. It's fine. And as Luther said, what a disrespect. I think it's just joy. It's just joy. And now, as we take these lights we have kindled out into the waiting world so in need of hope and commitment, may the truths that make us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away. Amen.